Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Illustration Department podcast. My name is Giuseppe Castellano. In this podcast, I talk to folks in illustration, graphic design, publishing, animation, and other creative fields about their work, the lessons they've learned, and the bumps and bruises they've experienced along the way. In this episode, my guest is Eisner Award and Caldecott honor-winning children's book creator, LeUyen Pham. To build a winning career as an illustrator, one must walk two paths at once, career and creative. It's a balancing act, to be sure. Among other topics, LeUyen and I talk about what artistic inspiration is and isn't. We discuss how illustrating in multiple styles is not a disadvantage. And LeUyen shares what an Indiana Jones quote has to do with being an illustrator. I hope you enjoy our conversation. I've gotten to an age now where I might need to be more aware of how much coffee I drink because I had a caffeine-induced 3-day-long nauseating migraine recently.
Ooh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Caffeine can do that to you? Can give you a 3-day migraine?
Apparently, I'm no doctor, but I went from totally normal to needing to, earmuffs everybody, vomit. I didn't, but I felt so nauseated and dizzy, and I couldn't focus. It was almost like when you're drunk and the room is spinning. I felt like that even though I hadn't had a drink.
For 3 days?
For 3 days.
Wait. How much coffee did you drink to do that?
I drink,
or were you on Red Bull or something?
LeUyen, no. I drink coffee a little too much. Don't tell my doctor.
Okay.
So yeah, it was 3 days. It wasn't, I wasn't in bed for 3 days. I managed it with some Tylenol and lots of water and whatever. But it was scary. I thought I was having a seizure or aneurysm or something.
I've never had suffered from migraines, but I have had pains that have debilitated me. I remember once after I gave birth to my first kid,
right?
I had this weird pain in my mouth it was like at the back of my jaw, and it was so severe. I thought either I had some type of infection that I didn't understand back there, but it was so piercing that I'm not joking. It was more painful than giving birth. And it was sustained for, I don't know, it was 12 hours or something that I'd had it. And when I finally went to the dentist about it, I couldn't move. I couldn't look at any sort of light. I was paralyzed. And I kept thinking, I can't live like this is insane. And the next day I went to see the dentist, and it wasn't the dentist that discovered what it was, but it was the dental hygienist. And she said, have you just had a baby? And I said, yeah. And she's like, and how are you nursing the baby? I said, well, I'm holding. And she's like, are you using a nursing chair? What are you using? And I said, oh no, I'm on a yoga ball, and I'm holding the yoga ball. She's like, oh, this isn't a dental problem. This is a nerve issue.
Yep.
It's because you're holding your baby and you're putting stress on that nerve, and it's pinching and going right around the other side of your head. And that nerve is connected to your right arm. And it was insane. The minute I took care of that, it never came back again. Mm-hmm. But that's the closest I ever came to debilitating pain in that way. And I've heard that that the pain I was suffering from is very similar to migraines. And I kept thinking of people who suffer from constant migraines, and that's just the worst. I don't even know what to do. Did you take anything for it? Did you take pain meds?
Just Tylenol.
Your doctor didn't recommend anything deeper than that, or?
You don't know me very well. What doctor?
Oh no, really?
I'm Italian, LeUyen. We don't go to doctors. No. We rub some olive oil on it and go back outside and get back to work.
Well, I'm Vietnamese too, and we force ourselves through these situations. But still, when it comes to that severe pain, I'm like, I'm gonna give in a little. I'm gonna believe
I was on the verge. I was a day away. I'm like, all right, if this goes on another day, I'm going.
So how'd you get rid of it?
It just went away.
Wow.
Stopped drinking coffee.
Oh.
So anyway, I looked it up, and I mean, again, what do I know? But I looked it up, and I was wondering because I do remember that particular day, I was drinking coffee for 12 hours straight, just one after another. Oof. And I just like the warm sensation of the mug. You know what I'm saying? Don't sue me.
Dude, it's called tea. Use tea, man.
I know. I need to go in that direction. It sort of occurred to me that might be it. Looked it up, and all the symptoms were there. So I feel like, and the nerve thing. I had a similar nerve thing.
No, seriously?
I did.
On the back of your mouth, or?
Yep. It was. It wasn't nursing, and there was no yoga ball involved, but I had some tooth pain, and turned out that, I'm of a certain age in which kids, like my generation, when we were kids, they just filled our cavities with mercury.
Right.
And mercury grows over time. So this over the next 30 years, incrementally, it pushed my tooth apart. It was so fine, but enough that it was hard to clean. So like bacteria, I guess, would get in there. It became a cavity inside the tooth. Right. And so it was like a little pressure here and there. Sometimes it went away. Sometimes it was. Don't worry, guys, listeners. We're going to get to illustration in a second. But it was. This is the dental hour. Long story short. Let's make this story short. The dentist removed the tooth. I had not a root canal. What do you call those things?
It is a root canal, isn't it? When you remove
not
everything?
A root canal. It was they put a new tooth.
Yeah. Not an implant.
Yeah. That.
I know what you're talking about. Not a cap, but yeah. Okay.
Had I waited maybe another week or two, the cavity would have hit the nerve, which would have made one side of my face permanently numb.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
And the reason I went is because I had an almond, and I chewed on that tooth, and the pain was like sharp. And I was like, oh, I have to go to the dentist. Had that almond not existed,
wow.
Had I not bitten it in that particular way to get the, that striking pain, it might have hit my nerve, and one side of my face might be numb to this day. That is a true story.
That is terrifying. I hate looking back on my life and realizing how close I got to the knife's edge so many times.
I was almost buried by a church. Should we talk about that?
Oh, jeez. If we're going to start comparing how we nearly died stories, this is going to go on much, much longer than the allotted time. So let's not go that way.
I'll just say, look up earthquake, Assisi, Italy, late 90s, and you'll know.
No. How old were you?
17, 18, something like that.
Man.
19.
Wait, did the church actually collapse? Were you in it? Were you near it?
I was in the basement. I was in the catacombs of the church, and the entire upper part of it collapsed after the big earthquake of 98, 97,
Holy
98.
Cow.
Yeah.
Oh, you were lucky you were in the catacombs.
St. Francis of Assisi Cathedral with all the Giotto frescoes. It was in the news. It's global news.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, anybody can look it up. And I was there. I was in the building when the ceiling collapsed and killed all those people. And we were let out in the back. And yeah, if the catacombs hadn't held, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Catacombs are amazing that way, aren't they?
Appreciate life, folks.
Yeah, in the midst of death, you're appreciating life, the catacombs. Seriously. That's ironic.
All right, so let's transition from death and tooth decay to inspiration.
Yeah. Wait, just before we go, my name is LeUyen, but you can just call me Win. Nobody calls me LeUyen. Yeah, Win is the short version of it.
That's a hell of a nickname.
It's only when you start making puns out of it. Absolutely. So I actually use it for my win, loser, draw on Instagram. That's what. Yeah, but
okay. My pun machine in my head is working.
Yeah, so. I know, and I'm anticipating at least 3 during the course of this conversation. So I'll forgive you in advance. That's fine.
Thank you in advance. Let's start with inspiration. Let's start. Yeah, like we haven't been talking for 10 minutes. I was talking to an illustrator today. Shout out to LeUyen. We were talking about inspiration, and really inspiration versus applying gentle pressure. Otherwise, pressure, teeth, otherwise known as process or routine or just doing it regardless, whatever name you want to give it. we're talking about like, well, does one wait for inspiration? Does one really need to feel inspired? And so we came up with we're discussing the scenario of like, let's assume that inspiration is actually something that you need to create art. Let's say that's correct. I don't think it is. I think you should just wake up every day and draw and paint something, and inspiration can, kick a can. But let's say you do actually need inspiration. Let's say you do actually need to meet the requirements you've set for yourself to do good art, right?
Wait. That's inspiration to you?
Well,
set the requirements.
Well, inspiration plus, you have the right setup, you have the right materials, you have the right ideas, like everything needs to be there before you actually do the drawing and the painting. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee that piece is going to end up in some good place. If the piece stinks, isn't that more demotivating and demoralizing? Like you feel inspired and the piece still doesn't work.
Oh, you're talking about inspiration, the feeling, versus inspiration, the art, the object. I think inspiration, the feeling, as you're suggesting it, is not inspiration. It's ability meeting that immediate desire.
Okay.
That to me is immediate. Like I'm sitting and I see, I don't know, a kid run across the field with a certain color on and their hair flares in the sunshine, and I immediately want to draw something similar to that. That's inspiration, the desire, meeting the ability to do it.
Okay.
Then you're talking about then you're talking about inspiration. This is interesting to me. I do primarily picture books.
Right.
In every book that I do, maybe 3 or 4 pieces are inspired, meaning they transcend what the book was supposed to do and goes to a place I hadn't anticipated. Mm. And to me, that's inspiration. That's the manifestation of inspiration, something that you didn't anticipate was going to happen, and some influx, some combination of resources came together to create something I just didn't anticipate. And I have not ever done a book where every single page was inspired. The closest I've gotten is maybe 4 or 5 images at the most. It used to be 1 or 2 per book in the early stages of my career, but now it's 4 or 5. And I think those are very different. It's the difference between the mural that you see in a church that's been there for centuries, mm-hmm. and the mural that you see on a wall, on the side of a building that some kid just put up. They're both art. They're both inspired, but one thing lasts longer than the other. One thing exists outside of its time, and I don't think it's possible to do that every single time. But it's what you shoot for.
Thank you for
Did that go too far?
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I guess anytime I haven't really thought of inspiration as being separate elements, and there are different variations of inspiration, sort of like there are different hues of a color spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I have to think more about this.
But as far as harnessing that feeling of inspiration,
right, which is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and you're suggesting that that's not a thing, that you just go and you do it, and muscle memory sort of takes over. Right. And somewhere in that there's an alchemy that'll exist there that'll create that thing.
Exactly.
So the art that manifests from that is what I'm calling inspiration, and what you're calling is the ability to make that particular moment. But in your definition, there's no agency on your part. You happen to be the recipient of it only, not something that you're able to summon at will. That's what you're saying?
Well, what I'm saying is that's my problem with it. The problem is that it doesn't, you have full agency over the kind of art that you create, inspired or otherwise. I mean, I work with illustrators every single day, all day long and when we talk a lot about creating the art that they want to create and getting it to a place they feel like best represents who they are as an artist. Inspiration obviously comes up a lot in conversations with artists. Mm-hmm. There's the famous Chuck Close quote, inspiration is for amateurs type of thing. But even Chuck Close, I guess, didn't really think of inspiration as being on a spectrum of being different kinds of things.
No. But
is that what you're getting at?
If you look at Chuck Close's work, though, his work would be suggestive of that, because it's so technique based, that there's like a rote memory to what it is that he's making.
Right.
That I don't think he even realizes the magic that he's making. He's making it, and then it comes together in the end. I don't know. You know what? This question is going to depend on the point at which you are as an illustrator in your life. If you are straight out of school and you're still learning, you don't know who you are as an artist yet. You don't know what it is that you're trying to achieve. You have around you the inspiration. I'm going to have to stop using that word. You have around you artwork of people that you admire and
right.
that you want to emanate. And so you move in that direction without copying that direction, obviously, but you're still trying to figure yourself out. That's why so many young artists, I believe, when they get out, publishers don't want to work with them necessarily because they don't know what it is that they're doing. And they can mimic fairly well, but they haven't yet developed their own voice. Mm-hmm. And that's a lifelong process of discovering that. I think early on in most artists' career, you're sort of taste testing and trying out different styles and seeing what it is that fits for you. Or if you're really unlucky or lucky, depending on how you see it, you stumble across a style that people seem to really like. You're not sure exactly why it works, but it works. It gets you jobs. It motivates you. It gets you money. But in the end, you end up feeling a little stuck in that position. And since you didn't know how you got there to begin with, you don't know how to do it again. You don't know how to do it over.
Exactly.
And I've seen a lot of artists, superstar artists from art school that went out with a bang and then disappeared or dwindled, or when it came down to the time for them to really work at it, they weren't able to do it because they hadn't figured out that skill set yet. But if you're speaking from a different period in your career or your life as an artist, I think the things that I used to tackle when I was younger, I don't tackle in the same way anymore. So I'm more aligned to the idea that you have, which is you're suggesting it's just work. You just sit down and you do it.
Yeah.
And something comes out of that.
Yeah.
That's purely due to mileage. It's because you've traveled down this road so many times that you can do it with your eyes closed. And the trick is to keep your eyes open and to find those little roots off to the side that you hadn't noticed before and to try that.
Where I'm coming from with inspiration is I guess I can't say never. Don't exaggerate, Giuseppe. I don't, maybe in the beginning, maybe early on in my career, I was waiting for inspiration. And that's the problem I see with a lot of illustrators that I work with. They feel like they're not inspired, or they feel like they need to wait for some kind of lightning strike of inspiration before they can actually get to a place that they're trying to get to.
Right.
They're confusing I don't feel like doing that with, well, I'll do that when I'm inspired.
Right.
I'm of the belief that I feel like the magic in any art making is in the act of making the art. And if the result ends up in a good place, all the better. If it doesn't matter. Now, that's easy for me to say. I'm not working with a client and the deadline's not Monday.
Right.
So it does matter because there are other people that I have to, I'm responsible for this, and there are people who are depending on me for this. I get that. But as far as just overall art making and creativity, inspiration, for me, the inspiration, I feel inspired when I can smell the linseed oil, when I can see this combination of color working. That's where the inspiration comes from for me.
Right. I have this long-standing idea about what it is to live the life of an artist. So there's one path that's your career path. Those are the logistics of surviving in this industry. And that's all the stuff that you're talking about, making deadlines, making connections, being able to do the work when you're told to do it, and being able to please the client. That's all on the career side. And on the career side comes all the ego as well. How much am I making compared to other people? Why isn't my art being displayed in this gallery compared to this artist being displayed?
Right. Exactly.
So the ego exists on that career path. And that career path is the first thing you have to tackle and learn how to handle if you want the artistic side to grow. And the artistic road is separate from all of that. The artistic road is the reason why you chose this path that most people do not choose, why everyone says you're going to be a poor artist. It's because to be an artist essentially is to be very selfish in your desires for the world and what you're trying to get out of it. Mm-hmm. Selfish, not in a negative way, but in a really lovely way. You want to indulge in that linseed oil. You want to be able to create those colors. You're existing in a space in your own brain that manifests onto a piece of paper, onto a canvas, onto some sort of object. You're making real what's in your head. And that is very self-absorbed, very selfish. And yet at the same time, it's a gift that I think humans need in order to understand why we're humans, right? It's an appreciation of what art does for you in your life. And so in order to be able to do that, you have to give in to that very, very sort of selfish nature. Mm-hmm. It's the balance between the career, understanding how your work fits in the world, and what it is that your work actually is, that space that's inside your head that we're all sort of shooting for. And the artists that I know that have managed, I mean, I've been doing this now. I've been doing children's books for 30 years, 30 plus years.
Yes, you have.
I know, a really long time. I don't look that old, believe me, but like
29 as of this recording.
Really? Yep. Oh my God, is next year going to be my 30-year anniversary?
That is correct.
Ooh, you should have me on next year.
If my research is correct, then yes.
Wait. Which book do you have as my first book coming out?
Your first book that you've ever illustrated was Sugarcane House and the Other Stories About Mr. Fat.
Yes.
In 1997.
Okay. All right. So next year's my third. Okay.
That is correct.
Right. We're going to anyway. So the artists that are able to survive for a long period of time and to continue to thrive are the ones that have learned how to manage the career side early on. And the career side is ugly. It's mean. You get pummeled on the career side. You wonder, why aren't my books winning these awards? Why aren't I selling more copies? Why aren't more publishers? Blah, blah, blah. If you can survive that point, the other side, the artistic side, the side in which you're growing visually, however it is that you're choosing to interpret your work, so long as that stays stable and you're continuing to do it for not financial reasons, but because something inside you is driving it, that will moderate the career side and keep the career side, if you're being smart about it, going to the extent that I do believe this. At some point, you switch from the career focus to the artistic focus. And now I'm at this, for me, I'm at this lovely point in my career where I no longer have to worry as much about what it is that the editor wants me to do. Now they hire me because they want to see my interpretation of it, that I've proven enough times. I can interpret this in a way that's going to be interesting to you if you let me do it. And you don't interfere too much in what it is that I'm trying to say and do. Right. And once you get to that point, your obstacles are all inside your head. And that's what I mean when I say you're going down this path that you've gone down a million times. I've done over 140 books.
I was just going to say, yep.
Yeah, I've been through this way before, through this tunnel. I know the way out, but to find different ways to interpret it, those challenges that are in my own head. I couldn't paint it this particular way last time. Let's see if I can tackle it this way. I couldn't understand how that value was so key in this image. How can I make it work this time? Those are all internal challenges that the editor could care less about, that the audience doesn't register at all, but that you yourself as an artist start to understand, this is what's going to elevate me personally to the next level, to get me to a point that I feel like I've grown as an artist. And for me, that growth is essential. If I start doing the same thing over and over and over again, and I'm sort of resting on my laurels and doing this same thing because it's successful, that's a response to the career side. And I don't want to respond to the career side anymore.
Right. Yeah. For folks who are doing math in their heads, it's 140 books over 30 years. So that's, a little over 4 books a year.
Yeah.
On average.
There was one year I did 10 books, and most of them were traditional too. I know I did not sleep at all that year. It was terrible. The kids were 2 and 5. It was terrible.
I mean, and counting, right? So what do you think has led to you doing so many books? It took me a day to write that question. And I'm not even really all that happy with it.
So I'm going to say that in the beginning of my career, and I'm going to call that part the career, I'm not sure that I necessarily struggled with getting the ideas down, but I did struggle with how I wanted the images, like ultimately the style, what I wanted the style to be for each of the books.
Oh, I have a question for you, Wendy, about style. I cannot wait to ask you. I cannot wait to ask you this question. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I would say that I think I've always had a fairly good idea of how to tell visual story from the get-go, and that had a lot to do with my first editor was Diane D'Andrade at Harcourt Brace. She was like the old school style editor. She retired after she signed me up for 4 books. She retired promptly right afterwards, so I only got her for a couple books. She was amazing. She gave me all the advice about story structure and about turning the page and what the intent of the thumbnails were. And I was such a student at that time and very much absorbing information as it came at me. And the school that I'd gone to, which was Art Center College, I had taken one children's book class with Marla Frazee. And Marla had covered a lot of that stuff too. Marla's amazing. She covered a lot of that stuff. And I believe Diane was beholden to her for that because she was saying, you've clearly been taught this stuff already. But in that story structure, I think that was something that I understood what story was supposed to be. But more importantly, I understood what, as an illustrator, I was supposed to bring to it from a very early stage. Meaning, our job isn't simply to illustrate what's on the page, but to interpret a visual story that doesn't exist on the page and bring that out, to bring that side of it. I think that was something I learned much earlier, and it meant that when I was tackling a lot of these stories, I was coming at it from already a fairly sophisticated angle, which allowed me to totally freak out in other different spaces, mostly style, mostly how am I going to interpret this? What is it that I want to draw? Like I can draw classically very well. The first few books I did were very classical watercolor illustrations that took a whole lot of time, but that I knew inside and out. I'd always painted that way. And what happened for me was I reached a point where after I think the 3rd book, I'd been painting in that same style. I just got sick of it. I got sick of the style. I didn't get sick of what I was doing, but I got sick of the actual rote laying down of the color, the layering process, destroying all my brushes by the end of a book and having to buy a new set. I was just doing everything. I was brute forcing everything. And I was constantly looking at other books and other mediums and what other people were doing and wanting to do that other stuff. So the first 10 or 15 books that I was doing was me just hopscotching from one point to another, trying to figure out what it was that I could do. And I believe the reason I kept getting books was because I had the basics down. They didn't have to edit me a lot in terms of composition. All the classical parts of illustration I understood very, very well. But they were, to start off in any illustration field, you get sort of known for a particular look. And early illustrators are told not to change your style too much because you want to build an audience that recognizes your work. And I strongly believe that's why the first 10 years of my career, I did not build up the audience that I was hoping to get because I just kept changing my style and people didn't recognize my work and they didn't know that the person who did this book had done that book as well. So it was a very slow process, not to mention in the early days, it was tough. I would go to a new publishing house. I would show them my work and then they would give me a book and say, we want you to use this style. And then I would promptly turn it around and say, well, I don't want to use that style. Can I use this style? And this was before I had an agent and they would say, well, you're going to have to do a sample piece again. And we're not going to pay you the same because we want you for this style. And if you're going to give us another style, we're going to pay you less. So the first 7 or 8 books, I think I just kept getting paid what my first book was because I kept thinking, well, it's fair that I'm giving them art that they haven't seen before. So let's be fair and do that. And
I don't know. I don't know if I would have done that. Okay. There's a lot of things in there I disagree with, but okay, keep.
That's fine.
We're not here to push back on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
But in that sense, it allowed me to not worry about the career side as much. In other words, I was really focusing on the art side, and where it has paid off in spades is, years later, I get manuscripts now, and the request in each of the emails is, we can't wait to see what you come up with style-wise for this one.
But then, so was it a mistake to work in multiple styles?
For me personally, my personality and what draws me and keeps me motivated to work, no, for me it was the exact right thing to do. For most illustrators, I don't think they find that as a happy space.
I know what you're saying, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I disagree.
Oh, okay. Tell me why.
Because it's not about consistency in style. So, oh boy, are we talking about style now? I can't wait.
All right.
It's not about consistency in style per se. Now, I'm not saying that what you're saying is incorrect or that you're lying or that you're making anything up. What you said happened. It's publishing. It's a very, very subjective game. One person's up is another person's down. However, as an art director, I couldn't give less of a shit about whether or not your quote unquote style was consistent in your portfolio. I wanted to know, can you do this particular thing 20, 30 times in a children's book? And the way to know that is that you had enough of that particular style in your portfolio to make me feel better about hiring you for that. I could sleep well knowing I'm putting this project into good hands. You could have had 2, 3, 4, 5 different styles in your portfolio. It didn't matter as long as they were organized and as long as there were enough of them, enough of a body of work to say, here's what I can do academically and here's where I'm coming from artistically. If I felt good about that, you're in.
Right.
And I wasn't about to pay you less because you were going to illustrate my book a little bit differently than you illustrated another book from freaking Harper or Macmillan or somebody. I couldn't give less of a shit about that. A lot of folks that I work with then, and a lot of folks I talk to now, would say the same. Style doesn't necessarily dictate how much money you get. I don't know who said that, but that is not how it's done. You don't pay someone less because they changed their style.
So 2 things here. I think the nature of publishing has changed in the last 30 years. I think there was an old school sort of format that I entered into.
Right. Me too. We're the same age.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. That I feel like
I'm
was...
older than you.
No, I think we're the same. If you were 18 and whatever. How old are you? I'm 52.
Oh, 48.
Oh, see, I'm older than you. So listen to me. I'm older than you.
Okay. Respect your elders.
There you go. Thank you. I would say that the world that I entered into was sort of the last vestiges of the 80s and the 90s, in which really that old model of one editor, one writer, artist forever was just starting to wane.
Yeah.
And I remember in my early days when I was taking any job that came along, I was given an assignment to illustrate a small book on Alan Say, the illustrator.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it was
talking about Alan Say for an hour?
I only got to speak to him for a short period of time. They gave me his number because I needed some photos. And this was back when you faxed things, and he faxed me a bunch of photos of himself when he was a kid. But I remember calling him on the phone, being very excited, and him sort of blankly saying, LeUyen Pham? And he said, yeah, I've been illustrating books as well, and I'm doing this book on you. And he said, oh, I know you. You're the mercenary. And I could not believe. And I don't know that he meant it in a derogatory way. And truth be told, my immediate reaction was that he thought of me like Han Solo from Star Wars. And I thought, that's not bad. But no, that is bad. It's, from his perspective, from his place in history, that meant that I wasn't loyal to anybody and that I was just going where the money was.
Yeah.
And I remember being somewhat sad about that. And then realizing, you know what? I have this sort of varied career. I'm 28 and I already have a very varied career. I've been doing strange projects, like on one end of the scale to the other, because I guess I'm a mercenary, because I'm willing to take the risk in this space and then operate in this other space as well, and to be able to show that I can do all those things. I was interested in being sort of a jack of all trades as far as an illustrator was concerned. And I didn't necessarily take that as a bad thing, because some part of me just knew I'm still information gathering. And I think that's why I was saying earlier when we were talking about inspiration, it depends on the point of your artistic career. Are you still absorbing? Are you still trying to figure out what your space is in the world and how you choose to reflect what's in your head into the world? If you're still figuring that stuff out, inspiration isn't a thing. Inspiration is something you're living. It's something that you're constantly moving through.
Right.
It's a muck that you've got to pull things out of in order to make something that will catch someone's interest. Mm-hmm. And that period I think it's a terrifying period, and it's a hard period, and it's your poor period. But it's also the most liberating point of your life, right? You're just, who cares if you fail? And what's failure anyway? And you even saying, I worked really hard in this piece and maybe what comes out doesn't look great at the end. Does it matter? Because maybe at the end you learn something out of that piece that's pretty phenomenal, and you're not going to forget, and you're going to move on to the next piece carrying that information that you learned from that last painting that you did.
Yeah.
And I think it's those stepping stones up. So long as you're always moving up towards a direction, it doesn't matter how slowly you go. It just matters that you're still heading in that direction.
Right. A couple of things there. One, because I know there's someone listening who's like, what's that sound? Is there someone in your room with you? Is there someone coughing or something?
Yes. So hang on one second. I'm going to say, baby, we can hear you coughing. Okay. Yeah, there you go. He's got his headphones on. It's my husband. He's an artist as well. We're both working on a book together.
Love that. And number two, which fine, by the way, this is fine. I joke that this isn't NPR or anything. We're good. Although as much as I would wish it to be. No, I'm kidding. Not really. The other is I reached out to Alan in 2022 to be on the podcast, and it was it was a lovely rejection. I looked it up. I pulled it up because it's so sweet. Anytime his name gets mentioned, or I don't know, think of him, or I see his work, I always think of this. He says, "Thank you very much for the invitation, Giuseppe-san, but I'm not making any more public appearances."
Aww.
Take care, Alan.
Aww.
Sweet.
That is very sweet.
Yeah. This podcast is produced by the Illustration Department, a global leader in online education for illustrators. Visit illustrationdept.com for offerings like mentorships and portfolio reviews, testimonials, our alumni showcase, our best-selling Substack, and more. That's illustrationdept.com. And now, back to our conversation. So transitioning a little bit to Shrinking Violet.
Okay.
Which is published by Chronicle. It just came out.
Mm-hmm.
So this is number 141 or something
number like that, yeah.
Okay. One thing I find interesting about Shrinking Violet is it's a 56-page hardcover picture book. That's 3.5 signatures.
Yeah.
Assuming a signature is still 16 pages.
Yeah.
Is it 8 pages now? Is a true signature 8 pages?
So you've never worked with Chronicle before as an art director or anything, have you?
I almost worked with Chronicle. I was on the verge of a book deal with Chronicle until about a month ago.
Oh.
After about 5 months of believing I had a book deal with Chronicle, I already talked about this on the podcast, so I'm Cliff's Notesing it for you.
Okay.
It was going through its final approval procedure 5 months into the editor, quote unquote, acquiring the book. And someone in the final approval group decided that it wasn't going to be, there wasn't going to be an audience for it. So the editor wrote back and said, "So sorry, bad news. We're not moving forward with this anyway."
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So no, I have not yet worked with Chronicle.
Okay. So
but thanks for pulling that.
I am so sorry. I feel like you're either going to love me or totally hate me by the end of this interview, but that's okay.
I've loved you and your work for ages. I have a really quick question before we get into
Shrinking Violet
8-page signatures or whatever the hell.
Okay.
Was your website at some point very recently not working?
Yes, for I want to say about 4 years.
Okay. Because, man, I would talk about you and your work to illustrators about the diversity of style and how you shift book to book. And here's how you design your characters. And here's how you create your environments in different ways. And anytime I would go to your dang website, it wouldn't work. And I would think, damn, she's so popular that she no longer needs a website.
I don't think it was that I was popular, but I am surprised that I continued to thrive despite not having a website. So does that mean I was so popular I didn't need a website? Or does it mean I was just lucky to skate through that time and not, I don't know. I know this is a long-winded answer to a short question, but I used to love making my own websites. Like when I first started, that was one of my great joys. Was I knew how to use
Dreamweaver?
Yeah, Dreamweaver and Flash. I was the queen of both of them. And I would, if you can ever go on one of those internet archives where you do like time travel back in time, look at my 4 previous websites that I designed myself. And they were so much fun. They were Flash based. You would click on things. It would give you these little Easter eggs all over the place. I was like, I impressed my brother-in-law who is an engineer, and he'd always seen me as this, sort of brainless children's book person. And he watched me putting together one of my websites. He's like, oh, you're actually a coder. You can actually design this stuff. And I had no idea who he was talking about, but I was cutting and pasting code and figuring out how to do all this. My websites used to be spectacular. And then Flash became a dead thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes. And I was very sad about that. And I had to transition off. And at this point, I was just doing too many books and I couldn't spend the time that I wanted to spend on my websites. And this company came and they made my website and for the first time took the reins out of my hands. So I couldn't control what was being done. They put all these guards all over it. So I couldn't actually go in there and change any of it. And then it broke. And then they came back and said, if you pay me this much more, we will fix the website. And I'm like, I don't want to. Yeah. I don't think it was meant to be a scam. I think it was really their business platform. You just keep paying us and we'll maintain your website kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not a scam. It's just scammy.
Scamish. Yeah. And it took,
scam adjacent.
It took a while for me. And that was when I realized, well, I'm actually not sure if I need the website. I'm still doing fine and no one seems to be. But I do know that during that time, a lot of people did contact me and say, how do we contact you? And I think the author village is when if you 5 months ago, if you Googled me, that was the first name that came up. And then my agent, I recently just put my website back up and built it all again myself. So it's fine.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what we would do. We'd go, I'd check, I'd forget that you don't have a website.
Yeah.
And then we go to your Instagram and take a look at your work.
Which is I don't put anything on there, actually.
Yeah,
I really
which is hard
don't.
to do. So I basically just Google image you and your work and teach through that, which was
wow,
not the easiest.
You can go to my website now. I've got a bunch of stuff on there. Yeah.
I realized you never really answered one of my questions earlier.
The signature one? I thought we were getting back
to. Nah, who cares about the signature one? Whatever. It's 56 pages. Big deal. I guess the point I wanted to make on that really quickly, but there is actually a more important question that you sort of answered, sort of dodged.
Okay.
The 56-pager, the question really is like, obviously typically a picture book is 32, it's 40, it's 48, and that's about it. It's about as high as you want to go, 48. With a traditional, picture book, there are a lot of exceptions. Whatever. Yeah. Graphic novels are 220, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I mean, 56 is a beast. And I mean, maybe it's because it's Laurel Snyder and it's you.
Yeah.
But you said, I've never worked with Chronicle before, but then you never really finished that point. Is that just Chronicle does the 8-page thing and they don't care or what's up?
So Chronicle doesn't work with signatures. That was what shocked me. When I thumbnailed out the book, and when I say thumbnails, my thumbnails aren't standard thumbnails. They look like the finished work, but they.
Something tells me your time at 3 years at DreamWorks has something to do with that.
No. Ask me this question again a little bit later in the interview because it's a long answer too. But I had sent off the thumbnails.
Should I email my 3:15 appointment and tell them that I'll meet with them later? I'm being serious. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and do that.
It's totally up to you. I can talk for ages if you really want me to, but I can also just shut up.
This is the problem. You and I are both cut from the same cloth. Like you and I can talk all day.
I know.
have
I'm
a
surprised we
feeling.
haven't met each other before. This is kind of
I know,
nuts.
it's odd.
Yeah. We've
Is
been
it on
around for
purpose?
too long. I don't know. Maybe I haven't been to New York in a while.
I mean, we've crossed paths. I'm sure we had to have been at the same conferences and stuff.
I'm positive we have. But whether or not, I have no memory for faces whatsoever, despite being an artist. It's pathetic.
Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it.
But anyway, so Stringy Violets, this lovely fairy tale. It's written by Laurel Snyder. It's about a young girl, very classically told. A young girl lives in a castle by the sea. Her one friend is a bird. Every day she takes care of her home and she takes care of bird. And the interesting thing about Violet is that when she gets scared, she shrinks. And she shrinks and she gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And the only thing that can bring her back to normal size is to think of things that calm her down. So she thinks of calming things to bring her back to her original state. And this isn't a problem except at night. She gets very scared at night of things coming through the windows.
Sounds like Thumbelina meets Seeing Red.
You know what? Let's not say that in front of Laurel because I'm sure she'll be offended in many, many ways. But whatever. So this happens.
That's a compliment. Those are two fantastic stories.
I think Thumbelina is a great reference. Maybe she won't. Well, whatever. I'm not going to speak for Laurel.
I think the movie's called Seeing Red, right?
No, isn't it? Is it Seeing Red or is it Red something else? Whatever.
Yeah,
you'll edit that in later.
Everybody. Yeah, well, I'll work on that in post. We'll do the special effects.
Exactly. So the point of conflict in the book is one night Bird doesn't come back home and she hears him crying out in the night and she's terrified and she runs out into the dark to try to find Bird, and as she runs she gets smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where she becomes infinitesimally small, and she sees that this hawk is attacking Bird. And when she reaches Bird, he's broken his wing, and she's terrified for him. And in that moment, she's a pinprick. She's filled suddenly. Laurel says it's anger. I say it's bravery. Whatever it is, there's an energy that fills her at that moment, and she grows. And the line says, as quick as a cat, as large as a bear, as powerful as a tree. And in that one image, I have her growing from cat to bear to tree. It's that precise moment where she's protecting her bird friend that I was telling the editor, God, I wish this book could be bigger. At this precise moment, I need this book to be bigger because this is the moment she grows. And this is the center point of the story. She said, if you want to add whatever many pages you want, go for it.
Of course. I mean, it's like if a fairy tale for me feels like it deserves to be at least more than 32.
Yeah.
Like 48, 56, whatever.
Yeah. This particular
810. Doesn't matter.
Someday I'll do one. Yeah, that's great.
I wish they were all that long.
Me too. Oh, God. I wish they just didn't tell you how many pages you had to do. You could just draw what you needed to make the story work, and that would be it.
Well, I mean, gosh, that's another angle. It's another sort of direction we could go with this, sort of like how many words should a children's book be? The correct answer is however many damn words it needs.
Right.
How many pages should this be? However many pages it needs. I mean, those are the right answers. But of course, there are constraints, and I get all of that, I suppose. Not really with the word thing. So the question you kind of answered, kind of didn't, but I think is important to get answered is, what do you think has led to doing so many? And you were talking about, well, while I was working with this client and this client, I understood how to do this and that. But I'm putting myself in the shoes of a listener who's like, yeah, that sounds great. But how did you get that job? You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess the second, I was going to say half. No, you're still going strong. So I'm not going to say half. But the first 10 years, let's say, right? Let's go from like your first book, which was Sugarcane House, which was published in 97. You were still with DreamWorks at the time, to the first book you created as an illustrator and a writer, which was Big Sister, Little Sister, which was 8 years later. So in that 8-year window, how did the assassin get work?
Wow. Once again, it was a very different world at the time. This is going to sound like I'm dodging that question again, but I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. But I feel like in the world of publishing, just generic publishing, there are these moments where the bottom falls out, something happens to the world, and everything collapses. A lot of people who are in the creative arts, writers and illustrators, if you're not in a sort of safe space, it's almost like back down to ground zero. You have to start over again. And when I first started in publishing, I was reaching, like I said, I had entered right at the tail end of that sort of old school model of one editor, one artist thing. And of course, my editor goes ahead and retires. And I immediately get passed on to another editor. And she, I don't think, was as keen on developing me. And I found myself having to go out and find other editors. And for a little short while, I was doing that. Again, getting paid peanuts. I didn't have representation, nothing. And I was just taking whatever came along. I was doing fairly well. I think I had gotten 2 or 3 books a year at that point. I think back then, since I was getting paid so little, it really didn't matter to them, the scope of what my career was going to become. They were just interested in sort of filling their book list. But I was doing well enough that I could get by, survive, whatever. And then 9/11 happened. If you remember from 9/11, the year of 9/11, publishing was fine, but it was the following year that everything sort of fell apart because everything happens a year later in publishing, right? So I was doing great. Up at that point, I was getting offered 1 or 2 books a year because I was fast and I was very precise and great with deadlines, and I was easy to talk to and wasn't much of a prima donna. Wasn't at all a prima donna, I'm going to say.
You are now, or so I hear.
I'm totally a prima donna.
So I hear.
People hate working with me. No, I think I'm still enjoyed in the field.
That's the word on the street.
But 9/11 happened, bottom fell out. Anybody who was sort of a mid-list author suddenly found themselves struggling. And I went from getting book offers to getting absolutely nothing. And that following year, so 2002, was when it hit me really, really hard. And I had just moved up to San Francisco at the time with my boyfriend, now husband, and realized, oh my gosh,
the guy who was coughing in the background?
The guy who's coughing in the background, exactly. Nice. And realized, okay, this is make it or break it time. I'm not getting any more offers. I don't know what happened. What am I going to do? Panic set in. I honestly, up in San Francisco, I think I'd had maybe $1,000 left in the bank. That was it. I had to pay rent. I had to pay all this stuff. And I buckled down. And
not much of an assassin, are you?
No, not at that point.
I hear they make good money. I mean,
anyway. So at that point, what I did was I spent $200 on a really good printer at the time.
Okay.
I went and I took all of the books that I'd done, pulled out all my favorite images, painted like crazy, made a whole bunch of new ones, and I completely sort of reinvented myself. I made a beautiful new portfolio with exactly the requirements that you had stated earlier. I had several different styles in there, but I had several examples of each style to show that I could be consistent with the style. Printed it out on really lovely watercolor paper, and then I bound it like it was an actual book. It was really beautiful, and put it against a velvet, inside of a velvet book, and it looked like a large 11 by 17 storybook, essentially. But I only made the one copy. And then I made a very tiny version of my portfolio with maybe 12 images in it. Again, hand-bound copy of this tiny little portfolio. Sewed it myself, made 10 of those. That was it. The last of my money, except for money to fly to New York. Made these little postcards. Sent it off to the top 10 publishers that I wanted to work for in New York. My little postcard was super cute. All you had to do on the back was, there were 3 little checkboxes. Yes, I love your work. Here's my number. Give me a call. Set up an appointment. We love your work. We'll keep you on file. Or thank you, but we're not interested. And within a month's time, I got back 9 responses from the 10. All 9 of them had phone numbers attached and said, we'd like to see you. I booked a trip to New York, hoofed it, did the whole, concrete thing, showed up with my larger portfolio. Mm-hmm. And went from art director to art director, showing them my work, trying to get them to actually remember me. So along with this portfolio, I also included my travel sketches, because I was traveling a lot at the time, and put that in there. And the travel sketches was meant to motivate people to ask me questions about who I was personally, because I really had it in my mind that I needed them to not see me for just my art, but they needed to see me as a person and what I was interested in. And that was the one. It was really interesting. During that time, the art directors would sort of flip through the large book. Whether or not they were impressed, I have no idea. They probably had already seen it in the small portfolio. But once that one was done, they would look through the travel sketches, which were much more informal, And I could feel them visibly relaxing because they weren't judging it in the same way that they were judging my larger art book. Yeah. And because they were relaxing, we were able to just talk casual conversation, and I became a person to them at that point. Mm-hmm. And that was when I got the job offers. That was when it'd be like, "Hey, you've been to Africa. You know about elephants. I've got a book about elephants that's on my table. Would you be interested in it?" You know, and I walked away from that one excursion with 3 book offers right away, and the interest of several other publishers who just kept contacting me afterwards, and that helped to reinvigorate my career and get me going again.
And that is why I tell illustrators to include a studies and sketches page on their website.
You're so smart.
No, it's what I liked seeing when I was an art director.
Yeah.
And I was there. And do you remember visiting Simon & Schuster?
I do. Dan Potash. Yeah. Were you there with Dan?
You met with Dan?
I did.
Yeah. I mean, Dan was my boss's boss.
No.
At the time he wasn't. Lee Wade was the creative director. So Dan might have just been the art director for S&S Books for Young Readers, maybe?
Yes.
Was that it?
It was actually a really interesting time, that meeting with Dan. He was the one that gave me the elephant story. And the elephant story was 21 Elephants, written by Phil Bildner. Here's like a weird serendipity story, okay? I had just seen Dan. He had flipped through my portfolio. He'd seen in one of my big portfolio pieces, I had painted the shadow of an elephant into the background of one of my paintings. And he looked at that elephant, and then he saw my sketches from Africa, and he's like, "Oh, so you can draw elephants." And he sort of tossed me the manuscript and said, "Hey, maybe you should consider this one. You might be good for it." And I took the manuscript. I go outside the building. I'm down at the subway. I'm waiting for the train. And this guy is standing not very far from me, and he looks over at me. He's like, "Okay, it's going to sound like I'm coming on to you, but I'm not because I'm gay. I work at Simon & Schuster, and have you ever considered doing children's books?" He's watching me sketch on the subway. And I look it up at him, and I'm thinking, oh, whatever, the guy's coming on to me. And I'm like, yeah.
Don't tell me what his name is, but keep telling the story. I want to guess, but keep going with the story.
Okay. So I look over and I'm like, oh, yeah, I was just in that building. And I said, I met with an art director there. And he said, oh, was it Dan Potash? And I realized, oh, okay, this guy knows who he is. And he said, yeah, I'm an editor. So Dan's great.
Gale.
No.
Kevin Lewis.
Kevin Lewis. And the book that I had that was given to me was Phil Bildner, who's Kevin's husband. That was so insane. I had not met either of them yet until that moment. And then, and now we're, of course, really, really good friends because we started out from scratch together. But it was the greatest serendipity story ever. The fact that I'd had his husband's story right in my portfolio at that moment, and it revived my career. It's crazy.
That's publishing.
Yeah, that is publishing.
Last I checked on those two, which wasn't recent, years ago. So who knows what it's like now? But I think they were up in Newburgh.
Yeah.
New York?
Yes. Newburgh.
On the water there?
They are. They seem to have not retired exactly. They're still working, but they're just living the life in one of those beautiful mansions, like those old mansions out there. I think it had a connection to the Underground Railroad even because it was close to the railroad. Something like that, yeah. Something, yeah. No.
I think Newburgh is across the Hudson from Beacon?
Beacon, yes. Exactly. Yeah. It's a really nice place. Anyway,
that's your upstate New York geography lesson, folks, for the day.
But that, so all of that to say, that was kind of what I just kept doing. I just kept hoofing and meeting up with people and establishing real contacts. I think that was really important. People knew who I was as a person, and I wasn't known to librarians and teachers, but I was known to publishers. They knew me as a really reliable person who would turn in art as needed and was, really easy to get along with and could be challenged. Like they could throw me manuscripts and I could figure out what the problems were in the manuscripts and make them work visually.
20 years after having less than $1,000, a dream, and a ticket to New York, you did win a Caldecott honor for Bear Came Along in 2020. What is your Caldecott call experience?
Oof, that's an interesting one. Okay.
Well, anytime I have a Caldecott winner on, I feel the need to ask them what their experience is because, interestingly enough, it isn't the same. Every single time, it's totally different. Like the act is the same. They call you.
Yeah.
but the stories
Yeah.
on the receiving side are all very different.
I'll agree with that. It's interesting. I had an interesting relationship with the Caldecott, and a couple close calls where I think The Boy Who Loved Math was sort of high on the radar list, and a couple other books that I'd had. But I remember trying not to let the Caldecott be that. The Caldecott, by the way, if we're talking about those models earlier of the career versus the artistic side, the Caldecott falls on the career side. It's something that you need for your career to go forward. It doesn't necessarily help you as far as your artistic growth in any way. It's just, it's almost pure ego, but it's a very satisfying ego side because it's your peers, it's librarians and teachers, people who make a difference in the life and death of a book, to vote for your particular book. It appeases the most artistic side of your ego, but it's still on your ego side, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I had come to grips with trying not to make the Caldecott such a big issue in my life, because I remember the year that Barbara McClintock had her book out. What was it? Oh God, what was the name of her book? Pierre and something.
I should know this. She was on the podcast a while back.
Shoot. But, oh God, I'm always forgetting the name of it. But it's two little kids. They're in Paris, and it's sort of a seek and find kind of book. And it looks like it was drawn in the last century. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Like the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful books I'd seen. And she should have won the Caldecott that year. Like I remember, I didn't know who she was at the time. And I remember saying, that book's got to win the Caldecott. And it didn't even get an honor. And I remember after that year thinking, oh my God, I can't use the Caldecott as a metric anymore, because if that book didn't win, I don't know how it works. And so I tried to not pay attention to the Caldecott after that, much to my benefit. I feel like there was too many people I knew who were devastated, on a year where they were sort of hoping their book would win, and it didn't happen. Yeah. So when Bear came along, started to get some buzz, I honestly didn't know that there was any buzz on it. I don't read any of the stuff that's online. It's probably bad of me, but I don't read, SLJ. I just don't follow anything because I don't want that stuff to get into my head in any way. And
that's wise and healthy.
I hope it's wise and healthy. It keeps me in the space. It's the same with, with social media. I just spend very little time on it because I can't get into that mindset, the hive mindset of what's the buzz and who is everyone paying attention to. It just saps too much of my energy to do that. The year that Bear came along, was starting to get buzz. I had no idea that there was any buzz. And in fact, that year, I really didn't think it was in contention at all. And that was the year that my dad had been not hospitalized, but we'd put him into a home because his dementia was starting to get worse. And we had put him into a home, and COVID had happened, and we couldn't reach him. And so I always had my phone on at night because I was always anticipating scary calls. I normally don't have my phone on. So when I got a call in the middle of the night, I immediately thought, oh my God, it's about my dad. And I picked it up in a terrified manner. Hello? All I hear are giggling, drunk women on the other line. Is this LeUyen Pham? Yes. And I'm thinking, okay, who is this? Because if this is the home, they wouldn't know how to pronounce my name. That's always my way of knowing whether or not a person actually knows who I am, is that they cannot pronounce my name correctly. And I thought, who is this? And they're all giggling. They're like, well, and they make the announcement, you've just won the Caldecott honor. And I was in such a state of shock because I was expecting something completely different. And I had come to peace with the idea that I'm never going to win a Caldecott. This is not going to happen. I don't know how it works. And in that moment, you suddenly feel that crazy understanding of why the Caldecott is such an important thing. And as much as I wanted to tell myself it wasn't important, it fills you with this sense of recognition. And it tipped over onto the artistic side. It tipped over into that side where it made me feel seen, I think, was what it was. And I started to cry, obviously, and I again, don't think I was quite processing it. They were thrilled to be able to tell you the message. I think they're looking to surprise you as much as they possibly can. Yeah. I think I even stumbled out. I thought it was my father's nursing home calling to say that he was lost or something. And I think they were so drunk that they giggled through all of that too. And then,
my God, they're drunk.
They were drunk. It was very funny. And then I got off the phone. It was probably 3:30, 4 in the morning or something when they called. And then I just went downstairs and I just cried. I just would sob for a little bit, not realizing how important it actually had become, like how something like that, what it truly meant.
Do you feel like a couple of those tears weren't just tears of recognition, but also tears of like a release of a tension you didn't know it was there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think as artists, we always have that tension that drives us. Yeah. Some people might call it insecurity. Some people might call it inspiration. Some people might call it motivation. But it's that insecurity that we are constantly looking somewhere for someone to pat us in the back and say, that piece that you did meant something to me. And wow, it's the ultimate vindication of that. It's something in there, that space that makes you a solid proof that you've been seen and that your work has been seen in some way.
Sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the Caldecott, it's an email, but I'm at a place in my life where I feel very confident and comfortable with what I do and how I do it. So I don't necessarily need, not to say that you did, but I'm not looking for it, and I'm not even actively pining for it or anything. I'm not even submitting my podcast to anything, but anytime I get an email from somebody, it's like, hey man, just wanted to say that I really liked what you guys talked about in this episode. It's not that I have any ideas or any plans to stop the podcast. I don't. It's going to stay on for as long as I do. But yeah, it gives you a little bit of juice, a little bit of like, all right, this does matter. Yeah. I know it matters, but when I hear it from somebody else, I'm like, yeah, okay, it matters. Yeah. It matters to somebody, and that's enough.
Yeah. You hate that you have to admit that you're looking for that. And in fact, I think most people don't. They almost think it's above themselves to admit that that's what they're looking for. But the truth is, it makes a difference.
I ain't too proud. I'm okay. I can say it. I mean, a couple of years ago, I was like submitting this bad boy to a bunch of podcast competitions, thinking stupidly that it would, win a Webby award.
Right.
And of course, it didn't. Aww. Wasn't even nominated. It's fine. Whatever, dude.
The field is so packed nowadays, though. Everyone and their mother does a podcast.
I'm so glad that I've aged out of it. Maybe it's age. I don't know what it is. I think it's age. I've aged out of the need to win an award.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I haven't won. The last award I won was Communication Arts. I won something with the Society of Illustrators. I've won a few.
Yeah.
But I haven't won anything in more than a decade. And it doesn't bother me. He says no one asked him if it bothered him or not, and yet he says it doesn't bother him. So does it really? Maybe it does. No, it really doesn't. Would it be nice? Sure. Is it going to happen? No, and I don't need it to.
Yeah, I think the idea about the award is that there's a panel. There are a group of knowledgeable people who got together and decided that you were worthy of that, and that makes a difference somehow. And it's not what we're working for, and it's not something we're expecting, but that doesn't mean that when it happens, it doesn't feel wonderful. It's someone handing you a chocolate bar as you're walking down the street. Tastes good. Thanks so much. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't need it, but man, it tastes good.
I mean, maybe where you live, that's a normal behavior. If someone handed me a chocolate bar in the idyllic town in which I live, I would say, no, thank you. I wouldn't even touch it.
Really? Oh, wow.
You do you, Win.
Yeah, I'll do
me.
You. Yeah. I'm still alive. We'll see. No, but it's true.
Well, man, we could talk for so much longer, but I'm going to cut this off, even though I am thinking about reshuffling some things podcast-wise.
Huh.
I've gotten some emails over the last few weeks from friends, from trusted folks who've in a friendly way, very amicably, shared some gentle criticisms of the podcast.
Huh.
One is that the episodes aren't long enough, which other people have said, and I've sort of been like, yeah, I don't know, I don't think so. But too many people have said it at this point, and I think I need to consider it. And the other is my intro is way too damn long, and I don't disagree.
Huh. Well, wait, how long is your current format? Like, how long is the podcast?
So you just admitted that you don't listen to my podcast. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Okay. I just told you I don't listen to anything. Literally nothing. Absolutely. I'm terrible. I do not exist in this field.
You cried winning the Caldecott. I'm crying because you don't listen to the podcast.
I'm going to listen to your podcast now. Okay. No worries.
No, you're not. That's fine.
No.
I'm gonna go drown my sorrows in a Nutella sandwich later.
Not at all. Oh man, this is where I'm gonna die.
No, the intro is like a minute long. It's like, hi everybody.
Well, what's wrong with that? That's a good amount.
Because I lay out what we talk about, and the person said that, and I don't disagree. The person said like, why are you laying it out when like we're gonna hear about it in the episode?
Huh.
You know, like in this episode, LeUyen and I talk about X, Y, and Z, and then we talk about X, Y, and Z. So why even do that?
I would dismiss that as a criticism because I personally would like to know what it is that I'm going to invest the next half hour to an hour in.
That was the original point of every intro.
Exactly.
Is for people to just be like, do I want to invest an hour into this episode or not?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's okay. Mm-hmm. That's okay. And you know what? Yeah. It's called the scroll button. You can scroll forward a minute. No,
that's what he said. Fine. He's like, I just fast forward through the thing. This is something that maybe everyone can, here's a lesson here in this sort of generation of people default to upset before they even think about like whether or not what's being said about them or to them is legit.
Yeah.
We can disagree on things. There's some things you said today that I disagree with. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's some things that I say that you disagree with. It's fine. We're gonna be fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to disagree with folks.
That is, you know what? We didn't talk about this at all, but it's too bad. As far as
going off on tangents now, we're flying. No. We're like when we were kids and riding a bike down the hill, and you go a little too fast, and you're like, I'm either having the time of my life or I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we are right now with this episode.
Okay. But I've had this conversation about collaboration with people for a while. Collaboration is a really difficult thing to achieve. Usually because everyone's ego gets in the way.
Yeah, that's right.
The collaborative projects that I've been the most successful at, that I feel like, and I don't mean that we were the most successful at, is when our egos kind of get checked in at the door and we realize we're trying to achieve something that's better than the both of us combined. And I'm discovering now as I'm in a lovely place in my career. I can speak with certain writers, make friends, and decide I'd like to work with you. Let's come together with a publisher and come up with an idea together. And that's great. But I'm finding that I have to be really careful the person that I'm choosing, not in terms of their ability or talent as a writer, but in terms of how well they're able to communicate and how well they're able to receive communication.
Yeah.
Like I used to teach and I used to tell students, we're going to critique your work, but the goal of the critique is not for you to do what it is that everyone in the classroom is saying is wrong. The goal of the critique is for you to listen to what people are finding wrong and discovering for yourself what the solution is. You don't have to take the solution that's given to you, but you have to identify the problem and solve the problem on your own. And that to an extent that applies to collaboration. When you're listening to what someone is saying about, I don't like the way you're telling that particular part of the story. You're listening for where did the story fall apart for you? Let's identify what the problem is and let's fix that, as opposed to me doing what you're suggesting that I should be doing. Right. That's where the ego gets involved. And once you eliminate that and you're both able to just contribute to making that project, whatever it is, better than the sum of its parts, better than what any one of you can do by itself, man, it's so amazing. I've been on a couple of graphic novel projects lately. Jean Yang recently, we did a Lunar New Year love story together. Mm-hmm. And Jean, that guy has no ego. It was such a pleasure to work with him because I would say, this is the problem I'm having with the story at this moment. And he would just come back with, what about this? Do you think this would work? And we would just riff back and forth. And it wasn't a matter of me coming up with any sort of solution. It was just a matter of the two of us talking And in that talking, he would find the solution that he'd want to fix the story. And the same for me. He would be like, okay, this particular moment in the story, I'm not feeling that moment the way it should be. And I would look and think, okay, how do I get that moment that he wants to emphasize so well? And it's a matter of attacking the composition. It's a matter of figuring out visually, how do you get that narrative arc in the story to happen on the paper? And in that, you're not necessarily trying to please the person as much as you're trying to service the story. And when it comes to collaborating, I think that's where we start to fall apart, is when we're either trying to please the other person or please our own ego, but not service the story as a separate entity from us. And that's the trick. I think that's the trick of finding a really good collaborator. But it's very hard to do and very hard to get past. And you've got to be sort of a certain stage in your artistic growth to be able to receive information like that and hear what you need to hear.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my.
Well, we didn't fall off the bike.
Yay!
We got to the bottom.
We didn't die.
It was fun.
Yeah. The church did not collapse on us.
The church did not collapse on us. It was an inspirational chat, so to speak.
Yay. It was a lot of fun. And I am for sure going to listen to your podcast now.
Sure you are.
Wait.
Sure you are.
Give me some that you think I should listen to. Which one is like your favorite ones? Should I listen to the
that's
Allens?
easy. All of them.
Oh, okay.
Next.
There you go. Sounds good.
Next question. If I had to, if I had to pick one, they're all my children. I love them all equally. I would say my chat with Hilary Knight.
You got to chat with Hilary Knight.
You would know that
Knight.
if you listen to my freaking podcast.
Oh my God. Okay. Now I'm a fan. There you go. And I'm going to go.
There it is.
I'm going to go look at the Hilary Knight.
I'd say number one would be Hilary. It was just a great chat. He's such a great storyteller. And we go back in time and talk about his early years. We talk about Kay. Not Nielsen. Kay Fraser. Not Fraser.
No. Kay.
Thompson. Possibly stealing the painting from the plaza. That's his theory. Anyway, it's got everything. It's got mystery. It's got New York history. It's Hilary Knight. He's.
Did you talk about Where's Wallace? That was my favorite children's picture book growing up.
No, I don't think so.
You interviewed Hilary Knight and you didn't ask about Where's Wallace? The predecessor to Where's Waldo, but the much better version.
An hour, dude.
Oh, it's the most. I don't think you can find the book anymore, but it's the most beautiful. I learned how to draw from that guy when I was 10.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Answer that question. I didn't have on my list.
There you go. All right, I'm gonna go look him up.
Yeah, and then I would say number 2 would be Ashley Bryan.
Ooh, what was that like? Oh, I'll find out.
Oh my God, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was such a great chat. I mean, he was 96, I believe, when we spoke, and he died maybe the next year or the 2 years after. I think my conversation with him was his last interview.
Did you ever work with him?
No, but I knew who he was. I mean, he was an SNS guy.
Yeah.
And so his work was all over the dang place when I was over there. It was a great chat. We talked about World War II. We talked about his life as a stevedore and storming the beaches of Normandy. And I mean, Ashley Bryan.
Man, that was the generation that lived, man. They had real...
Yeah. So there's so many. Mary GrandPré was a surprising... Surprising in that she illustrated the American Harry Potter covers and whatnot, and now she's working in abstract art and art. Just that transition.
Yeah.
Why did you transition from illustration to fine art? And that was a really great chat.
That's interesting. She's an interesting one because I feel like there are a lot of illustrators I remember revering when I was a kid that now I do wonder, where are they? What happened with their life?
Oh, you should look her work up. She's got a website.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, very abstract, dialoguing shapes kind of art.
Yeah.
It's real good.
In the great arc of living the artist life, we don't always end up where we think we're going to end up, right?
Oh, goodness gracious, no.
No.
I thought I would literally die at my desk at some publishing house.
Thank God you didn't.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to still be alive. Yeah, no, I thought once I started working in publishing and realized how much I loved it, I thought I'd be in publishing for the rest of my life until I retired.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
And there you go. Life has other ways of,
Yeah.
life likes to throw some curveballs and also sort of open up doors you didn't even know existed.
Yeah. I think if you're not receptive to those changes, then you're not going to be that happy with your life. Sometimes I look at like my brothers and my sisters. We were all artists growing up. I was the only one that pursued it. And at one time or another, each member of my family has come up to me and said, wow, I wish I'd pursued the arts instead of becoming whatever, a doctor, an engineer. They're all these great professionals. And, I'm like, you were the ones who called me losers growing up. I was the poor starving artist that, now you kind of wish you'd lived that life.
Yeah, but they don't know the heartbreak.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
They don't know how hard it is to make sure that month to month you're fine.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about what clients say about your work or what some random internet user comments about your piece. You know what I mean?
Yes.
On the surface, being an artist sounds like it's the most glorious thing ever, but below the surface, artists, I think, are the toughest people I know.
The ones that have survived, but not all of them make it through and continue to do what they're doing for sure.
That's okay. But they remain art appreciators,
yes,
which is what we need. We need way more art appreciators in this world, specifically in this country.
We do, don't we? Oh.
As I say this at the 1 hour and 38 minute marker, let's talk about how art isn't appreciated in society and education. And
we're not going to go there because then it's going to really bum me out. So it's me for an next interview. Okay.
All right, next time.
Next time.
What piece of advice or word of wisdom would you like to share with listeners? Maybe something that you've picked up over that close to 30-year career that you're on.
There is no. I mean, I'm just going to steal from Indiana Jones. It's not the years; it's the mileage. That's all it is. You work. You don't stop. You draw whether or not you're feeling like you should be drawing. You push through. It's amazing the number of times that people say, how do you get past, what is that called? When you and not inspired and you can't do it anymore. Writer's block or artist block.
Yeah.
I don't recognize that term. It's just you push through it. If I don't feel like drawing,
Win?
Yeah, Same. We are totally cut from the same cloth. It's you sit and you work at it and you work at it and you work at it and you produce a lot of bad stuff and you will hopefully produce something good, but you don't let any of it stop you and you just keep going. I used to actually tell students, like, I want you when I was teaching, draw always with a marker or a pen. Don't erase anything and don't tear any pages out of your sketchbook. And 90% of your sketchbook, if you've produced a sketchbook where the first page and the last page are beautiful and it's nothing but beautiful drawings in between, you wasted your time because you didn't get any better. Like, you just stayed the same. The best sketchbooks are the one where it's riddled with mistakes or obvious bad drawings, because it means that you grew, that you learned from it. And the first drawing and the last drawing should be very, very different. So don't keep producing the same work. Keep making mistakes in directions that you haven't explored yet. That's what it is to be an artist.
To learn more about LeUyen, visit LeUyenPham.com. If you find value in this podcast, consider becoming a patron. In return, you can access bonus episodes, receive invitations to our Art Directors After Hours series, and get a 10% off discount code for all ID offerings. Become a patron by visiting patreon.com/illustrationdept. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.